Hello, and here is my final capstone findings. Starting off with how I found everything through a company called International Business Seminars, and I was able to study abroad in Europe for a month, and I visited 6 different countries, and I really found some amazing discoveries throughout each country, and which brings me to my point, which is the public transportation system is one thing that's heavily utilized in Europe, and I found made a huge difference when traveling through cities and through multiple countries at a time. And I compared it to the American transportation system, which I thought needed a huge update, and I found many problems throughout the United States. And really, the United States' main problem is we have the biggest difference in poverty rates compared to wealth rates. We're very unequal, and we have one of the highest poverty rates in the world, which translates over to the public transportation system I found, which is usually used in poorer areas. And the biggest difference than the United States that the Europe has utilized is the EU. And really, the EU is the biggest difference, and they really control all of the transportation systems throughout the 28 countries in the EU. And it has made a huge difference in the public transportation industry. And the first major finding I found with the EU that they use is they have their own transportation policy. Basically, they govern all of the transportation systems within the countries in the EU, and they kind of unionize it all to make it all run smoothly throughout the countries and give proper funding, which I will go on to next. And here is the second finding I found about the European transportation system is the Federal Ministry of Finance. And what they especially do is they control, obviously, all the finance within the EU. Mainly, their main priority is public transportation. They're able to fund that in the right order. And the first major problem, other than poverty in America, is their rail system. Really, when I honestly don't use major train systems, and you can see there's not a huge amount of rail systems in the U.S. And normally people don't utilize these as they do in Europe, because in Europe it's a huge thing and everyone is on the transportation systems. And my first U.S. city I chose to analyze is Los Angeles, and they actually have the worst public transportation system in the United States and basically the world, because we are the worst country in public transportation. And I will go on to further show why LA is so awful. Their first problem, LA has the worst traffic in all of the United States, and there's probably many things they could do to change this. And I really just tried to analyze all the different outcomes they could use to go about their horrible traffic problems. And the first thing that I found they really need to work on is their bus system. They also, like traffic, have the worst bus system in the United States, and their bus systems only seem to be running in poorer areas, which I feel give the bus systems a bad look, and nobody really wants to ride these because they can be scary in some instances. And their other problem, I feel, is the metro, which is their rail system, and that is really underutilized, unlike the European counterparts. And I feel if they brought a more high-speed, better rail system with better taxing, that will make a great outcome. Which brings me to my next point in the LA's problem is their income tax. California is pretty much the most expensive country to live in as of today, and I feel that if they allocate their taxes to more public transportation, then they could really make some great transportation problems and solve that traffic. And my European city that I chose is Berlin, who today is leading the world in the public transportation system and has been really engineering some crazy new ways to get around without driving your own car, because they feel that's the worst thing you could do with today's environment. Which brings me to my next point, which is their high-speed rail system. When I was in Berlin, this is the only thing I rode. It travels over 200 miles per hour. It can get you from point A to point B extremely quickly. It is probably the most heavily used object or transportation method in Berlin and all of Europe. And the next thing that they have done amazing is they have automatic systems of their buses and trains run automated, so they're never late. Nobody drives them, so you don't have to pay anybody to drive around. They're always on time. If they break, somebody's always there to fix them. And today they are also working on autonomous vehicles. And the first thing they came up with, I think in 2010, was the Spirit of Berlin, which is a self-driving taxi. But it's currently not in use because it's pretty dangerous. They're still working on some things, but if they can get that going, that will be the biggest thing the world has ever seen to date. And what America is looking for, especially in LA, is the man, the myth, the legend, Elon Musk. Elon Musk today is doing some crazy things within the public transportation industry, which I will get to later on. And really, he is the front runner in the industry, and he could be the solution to LA and the rest of America's problem. Right now, what he is doing is he is constructing a massive tunnel underground LA to get people, actually really just to bypass traffic rates and make things move more quickly. And he's also working on a high-speed underground expressway from San Francisco to Los Angeles. And like Berlin, he has his own line of autonomous vehicles coming out, I think in 2025, don't quote me on that one. But this could be the major change in the American public transportation industry with self-driving cars, which would be a huge, huge, huge thing. And I feel, well, it brings me to my findings. I feel that if LA adapts the European model and goes with Elon Musk's new transportation ideas, that they could, or America could be on the same level that Europe is on today. Thank you for watching.